Okay, boom. And we are live. Thank you guys for tuning in. So there's nothing more irritating or upsetting than technical difficulties. Absolutely nothing more upsetting. So last week, recorded a podcast. It was supposed to be on the YouTube page. Something happened. I'm not sure what it was. Was not able to get uploaded. So here I am, another installment of the Max Van Auken Podcast. And it's another rant. It's another episode where I'm just picking up on some things, and there's just so much NBA playoffs. Gervonta Davis just boxed. The Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier fight's coming up. So there's all these just different things going on. And so I find these episodes where I'm able to just really dive in deep with some of these sporting events and some theories that I have and some takeaways are the most fun. So right now, before I get loaded with more guests coming up in the future, probably later this week, especially next week, here are some of my takeaways from what's been going on. But like I said, I apologize. I said it was going to be on YouTube last week. Technical difficulty error. Here we are. So please check out the YouTube page if you're listening to this via podcast. Max Van Auken. That's MAX space VAN space AUKEN. That's where I'm on Instagram. That's where I'm on Twitter. Everything. But this specific episode, yes, Trae Young is down 2-1 to the Milwaukee Bucks. Yes, the Phoenix Suns are up 3-1 against the Los Angeles Clippers. Yes, Gervonta Davis just got a tremendous knockout. Looks like he's going to fight Lomachenko. NFL season's right around the corner. NBA draft lottery, NBA draft. So much to break down. But what I really want to break down is I put out this thread on Twitter, and I talked about artists. And people are like, what do you mean artists? So what I said on Twitter was, first I defined what an artist is. There's obviously multiple definitions for pretty much everything. And so the definition that I pulled and used is this, and I think you guys will enjoy it. I truly think you'll enjoy it, and I'll explain why I did it. But artists are the most dangerous because they're always a threat. They always have confidence, and that they're always being innovative, and they're constantly trying to evolve and improve on their craft. So an artist is a person skilled at a particular task or occupation. So the reason why I did this, and Devin Booker's honestly the cause of this, and I've always said Chris Paul, CP3's that Wi-Fi DNA, which I've explained multiple times. If you guys listen to the podcast, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're a first-time listener, basically, he's hard to connect with everybody. Michael Jordan had this quality because he's so competitive. He communicates. He's just driven to win. He's dedicated, and he doesn't connect with everybody. But when he does, he elevates everybody. It's a stronger signal. Deandre Ayton, Devin Booker, everywhere he's gone. OKC, everywhere. Hornets, Clippers, you name it. Thunder. But I'm watching Devin Booker, and I've said he's the best player on this team, but Chris Paul's the most valuable. You can have You can have that on the same thing, two different players. Best player and most valuable are two different things. Devin Booker's the best player on this Phoenix Suns team. Chris Paul's the most valuable player on this Suns team. But the reason why I broke down artist is because Devin Booker's a pure artist. I said he resembles Kobe Bryant. I'm not saying he's the next Kobe Bryant. I can't stand when we do that. Like Zion Williamson, Ben Simmons, the next LeBron, Andrew Wiggins, next LeBron. So when they don't become the greatest player of all time, it's seen as an underachievement. Like, let these individuals be themselves, but you can say, hey, I see bits and pieces of this. Like Rashad said, Cade Cunningham. I see Grant Hill. Like, he's reminiscent of Grant Hill. I see those similarities. I love that. But I'm not saying he's going to be the next this or the next that. So I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, Devin Booker's the next Kobe Bryant, but I will say he plays very similarly. Like, he shows flashes of Kobe Bryant. And so it got me to thinking, the NBA is full of tremendous players, but there's only a handful of artists. And so when I said an artist, someone that's always just exceptionally well at their craft, but like, there's only a handful of people that are like that. Kobe Bryant is the epitome of an artist, where he had a blank canvas every time he stepped down the floor on the offensive end. He didn't know what he was going to do. He let his imagination run wild, and he could just bring it to life. He can go with his left or right hand. His footwork, his pump fakes, his finishing with both hands, his soft touch around the rim, his explosiveness, his jump shot, everything. He did not have a set motive on what he was going to do. It was a blank canvas, and he was able to just create it. and we watched it. It's a thing of beauty. He's the epitome of an artist. So what I did was I created a list of the artists today, but I used Kobe Bryant as an example of that. So obviously, if Devin Booker resembles Kobe Bryant, he has that artist quality where he's able to go down to the floor. And it's not even really about the defender. The defender is just the subject. It's what he envisions he wants to do. Very few players in the league have that. So there are scorers in the league, and then there's artists. Two different things. Devin Booker's an artist. He goes down on the offensive end, and it's a blank canvas. The defender is just a subject. It's just an object. It's what he wants to bring to life. Left hand, right hand, pump fakes, footwork. You name it, he's creative. He's an artist, and he brings his imagination to life. He plays fun. He plays free, and that's what Kobe Bryant did. And they don't lack confidence, and they have insane composure and focus, and it's able to bring their art to life. Kobe Bryant had that. You're not going to shake his confidence. Devin Booker, you're not going to shake his confidence. That dog mentality, I'm going to run through you if you don't want to move. Devin Booker possesses that quality. The other artists are the Kyrie Irvings, the Steph Currys. I've mentioned Jamal Crawford had that. And then obviously, like I said, Kobe Bryant's the epitome of that. But Kyrie Irving has that same quality. And he learned a lot of that from Kobe Bryant. And so the reason why I'm mentioning this is because this postseason, even though this is the most success Devin Booker's ever had, and I'm so happy he's having that. Trae Young, you're seeing the new generation. Donovan Mitchell had a good postseason. We're starting to see the new generation, the new wave. I mean, John Morant beat Steph Curry in the play-in. But we're getting to see that from Devin Booker. And so that's why I wanted to bring to light. I wanted to explain that on the podcast because I think it's only 140 characters doesn't always serve it justice on Twitter. There's a handful of artists. Like I said, Kobe Bryant, Devin Booker, Kyrie. I mean, Kyrie has the best handles we've ever seen in NBA history. Top 1, top 2, top 3 of him. Isaiah Thomas, Curry, Kyrie. Finished with either hand. 50, 40, 90 club. Can shoot. Best finisher in the league. Can create his own shot. You have Steph Curry, who as soon as he touches the ball and crosses half court, they have to double team him. He literally can quick release it anywhere he is. Best shooter we've ever seen. Insane handles. Can create space in a phone booth. And they just play free. They play free. It's the Van Goghs, the Picassos. That's what you're looking at. You're looking at artists. And these artists, the Kobes, the Kyries, the Currys, the Jamal Crawfords, they come down the floor with a blank canvas, and they're able to do whatever they want. The defense is just a subject. It's just an object. The defender's just an object. They can do whatever they want. They have a blank canvas, and their creativity is what brings it to life. And that's something special, and that's what we're seeing through Devin Booker. So I just wanted to explain that. But I also want to transition to Deandre Ayton. Now, Perk has been giving Deandre Ayton his flowers, and rightly so. And that's what I wanted to touch on. So I keep talking about Chris Paul and the Wi-Fi quality, Devin Booker being the best player, being an artist, resembling Kobe Bryant. But Deandre Ayton isn't getting enough love. And I thought about it. Now, there is the new positional dictionary that I used through Shad that he created. But based off the typical 5 positions that currently right now that we use in the NBA, the best centers in the league is Joel Embiid and Jokic, Nikola Jokic. Whether you say Embiid is 1 and Jokic is 1, that's up for debate. Both had MVP-like seasons. Obviously, Jokic had the MVP season. But who's the third best center in the league? So I started thinking, because Anthony Davis I list as a power forward. Karl Anthony Towns is like power forward-ish. I'm thinking, and I'm like, okay, who's another center? Obviously, you got Rudy Gobert. You got the DeAndre Jordans. You got the Nurkic's. And Vucevic. Like, you know what? DeAndre Ayton is already the third best center in the NBA. The third best center in the NBA. 2021, you want an NBA big who can move his feet exceptionally well, who is very coordinated and very aggressive to the basket, who knows how to roll really well, roll really hard, crashes the boards on both offensive and defensive end. He's not a liability late in games, and he's always a threat. And he's cool, calm, and composed, and he reads the defense. He understands the offense. Some games he needs to go off for scoring, other games he doesn't. So when I look at the 2021 big men and the center positions, you got like I said, the Jokic's, you got the Embiid's. Deandre Ayton's a top 5 center in the league. Number 3 center in the league right now. And I know, like I said, Chris Paul deserves his flowers, and I'm so happy he's getting it. Devin Booker, like I said, best player, most valuable player, D-Book and CP3. But DeAndre Ayton deserves his flowers, and he's finally getting it. He was a number 1 overall pick, but he may not have had that pop right away, and now that pop is here. And he's a huge, huge reason why the Phoenix Suns have had the success that they've had. Dismantled the Lakers. I mean, he put on a clinic against Anthony Davis. Granted, Anthony Davis wasn't fully healthy, but he stepped up to the plate. As what, his third year in the league doing this. That draft class is special. And before I get into that draft class, so DeAndre Ayton had to play against Anthony Davis. DeAndre Ayton had to play against who? The Utah Jazz? No, that was the Clippers. Yeah, that was the Clippers. They had destroyed, but he had to play against Jokic, the Denver Nuggets, who they swept. Granted, they were understaffed. Jamal Murray's injury. And now they're playing against the Clippers. The Western Conference Finals, and he's still having a tremendous impact. He's playing like the number 1 overall pick. He honestly is. But that's the next thing I wanted to transition to. You look at the best draft classes in NBA history, and I brought this up to Ryan Hollins on his Instagram Live. You think of the 03, you got the Brons, the Wades, the Bosches, Carmelos. You think of like just overall Jordan's draft class, him, Olajuwon. Like you look at some of the best draft classes. Believe it or not, you got Ben Simmons, Jaylen Brown, and Brandon Ingram. All 3 of them have worked. I know Ben Simmons has been getting tons of criticism, but he worked. And you're looking at and Donovan Mitchell, you're getting all these draft classes. Typically the first or second pick. If you look out the history of the NBA, typically the first or second pick underachieves. I don't like using the buzzword. Underachieves. The all-time great draft classes are the ones that, wow, the 1 worked, the 2 worked, and maybe even the 3 worked. Look at this draft class with Trae Young, Luka Doncic, and DeAndre Ayton. They are running the 2021 NBA postseason. Trae Young, Eastern Conference Finals year 3. Luka Doncic already looking like he may be the next face of the league, and like an early MVP candidate already. And DeAndre Ayton, like I just said, a top 5 big man. So think about that draft class and look at the impact they're having already in year 3. That draft class is one of the best draft classes we've had in a long time. And it's like, I'm starting to look back at it. Zion, Ja Morant, they worked. RJ Barrett, all those 3 worked. Ben Simmons, Jaylen Brown, Brandon Ingram, they worked. Now this draft class worked. We're starting to see this. This is not normally how it goes. Like I said, the average is, okay, the first pick worked, or the first underachieved, and the second pick worked. That's typically how it would go. Like Greg Oden was picked over Kevin Durant. And I don't mean to just single out Greg Oden, but like Anthony Bennett, Victor Oladipo. Like obviously Anthony Bennett didn't live up to expectations. Like that's insane to me how successful these draft classes have been recently, because that's not normal. Trae Young, Luka, and DeAndre Ayton. Like I said, Jaylen Brown, Ben Simmons, Brandon Ingram, Zion, Ja Morant, RJ Barrett. Like these young studs are honestly living up to their expectations and then some. Like I said, 3rd year in the league, and they're already having this impact when it matters most, the postseason. Lastly, this is what I want to get into. So Damian Lillard. This is what I want to transition to. Damian Lillard. Chauncey Billups is now the head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, which I think is a fantastic hire. Jason Kidd made sense in Dallas. Chauncey Billups makes a lot of sense in Portland. I believe Rick Carlisle just went to Indiana. So you're starting to get all these head coaches transitioning into the new teams, creating a new culture, a new foundation for that team. And so it makes sense. Chauncey Billups, obviously a point guard, an all-time great point guard, very cerebral, very smart player, has been in the front office, been an assistant coach, now a head coach. I think Chauncey Billups is going to be a fantastic head coach. But is this what Dame wants? Not necessarily Chauncey Billups, but Portland. Is that what he wants? Because we all, as media members, as fans, want to see all-time great talent in Dame play for a championship. And so we value championships so much, we, in a weird way, force these players to be mobile. But then certain fan bases will be mad when these players are mobile. Oh, they're not loyal. Well, because we keep judging the all-time greats by how many rings they have. So, of course, they're going to put themselves in the best position to win a championship. Damian Lillard's in that category now. All-time great talent, has shown how great he is for years, but now we just keep saying he doesn't have a ring. So now Dame is finally like, okay, look, I am playing the best basketball I've played in my career. I've stayed loyal. I've stayed true. I've been here for a long time. Since LaMarcus Aldridge was in his prime, I've been here. He's not even in the league anymore. I want to win. And so I can't fault Dame for that whatsoever. Whether he stayed or go, I support it. Like, you do whatever makes you happy. Chauncey Billups is the right hire to help a guy like Dame. The question is, can they land another star? Let's play a hypothetical world that they can't, because in the history of the NBA, they don't. So if Dame were to leave, I saw this, I think Bleacher Report just put out this article and talked about the greatest trade packages that they could get for Dame. Philly was up there. Boston was up there. Knicks talked about trading, I think, R.J. Barrett and a couple picks. The Pelicans talked about trading possibly Brandon Ingram or a couple picks with Brandon Ingram to get him. And I'm thinking, okay, so if Dame leaves, what's his priority? His priority is to win. He wants to win. That's the only thing he hasn't done is win. Why would he go to the Knicks? Yes, they've established a new culture. Yes, they are up and coming. Yes, they do have a bright future now. But if I'm leaving a franchise that has been making the playoffs, I think he has the longest streak of making the playoffs out of any team right now is Portland. But they just don't go far. Why would I join a team that's just made the playoffs? I'm trying to play for a contending team that's winning a championship. If I'm going to leave Portland and finally pull that trigger, I'm not going to go to a team, for one, that, yes, Julius Randle is he's a good player. He's not going to win you a championship. Why would you go to New York as your number one option? It doesn't make sense. Boston makes more sense, but there's a lot of players who don't want to play in Boston. But if you have a young Jason Tatum, if you're able to keep Jaylen Brown, and you have a Dame, yeah, that's scary. Okay, consider Boston, but again, a lot of players don't like playing in Boston. Philly. You have, what has Philly needed this whole time from Ben Simmons to shoot? You get arguably the first, second best shooter in Damian Lillard behind Steph Curry. That would make a lot of sense. I think you can't write off Philly, especially Daryl Morey, who's super aggressive. I wouldn't be surprised if he does whatever it takes to combine Dame with Joel Embiid, that 1-2 punch. But we all ultimately, I feel like, keep talking about the Lakers. Does it make sense? Of course. But it's a video game trade. What can the Lakers possibly trade to get Damian Lillard? What would Portland want? Would a Kuzma, a Horton Tucker, a Caruso, a Caldwell Pope? I just don't think the Lakers have the trade assets to acquire the second best point guard in the NBA right now in Damian Lillard. So I think Philly makes a lot of sense. I really do, and I think Boston could be really scary. But the only thing that I say about Boston is the fact that a lot of players don't like to play there. So out of those, Lakers weren't even considered, I don't think, in the Bleacher Report's trade packages because the Lakers just don't have any assets to trade them. Unless Dame specifically uses his leverage and kind of like a James Harden, this is the team I want to play for. I don't want to play for anybody else. That's a little different. But if he just says, I want out, and Portland's like, okay, we're going to trade you to the best team. We're going to trade you to what we can benefit the most of. Lakers aren't on the top of that list unless Damian Lillard uses his leverage. So that's what I'm talking to the Laker fans here because I see a lot of that on Twitter. Dame wanting, like, oh, we need Dame to become a Laker. The only way that comes to fruition is if Dame uses his leverage and says that. Because if he doesn't, the Lakers are not on the top of that list when it comes to what the Portland can get for their star player. But Philly makes a lot of sense. But it depends on what direction Portland's willing to go. And obviously, if you have Chauncey Billups in his ear, Dame's a very loyal guy, and you have that fan base continuing to put pressure on him. I don't think he would crumble because of the pressure, of course, but I think with Chauncey Billups in his ear and them trying to have a new direction, if they can just acquire or trade a couple different pieces, I don't really see him going. But like I said, if he wants to go to a Lakers, if he wants to go to those type of teams, he has to use his leverage because those top-tier teams right now, don't have the assets that a New Orleans has, that a Philly has, like a Boston has. But I appreciate you guys. So I wanted to rant. You guys listen to me. Please download, rate, and subscribe on any podcast platform. Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, wherever you get podcasts, as well as YouTube, Max Van Auken. That's VAN space AUKEN. Instagram, Twitter, Max Van Auken. Thank you guys. Like always,